Hello, I'm Maria Hall Brown, and this is LA Currents. It's incredibly important to be counted, literally counted. And here to tell us all about Census 2020 is the director of the LA Census, Maria de la Luz Garcia. So nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me here, Maria. It's a pleasure.
Given that everyone's life has changed in such a short period of time, I imagine how you were going to conduct the census here in Los Angeles has obviously changed.
Absolutely. We had a plan to do door-to-door canvassing and encourage people to respond to the census and make our case in person. Since the pandemic hit, we obviously have had to change strategies, and now we're relying on a remote phone bank operation where volunteers make phone calls from the comfort of their own home and convince people over the phone to respond to the census. But we're also relying a whole lot more on social media and trying to get the message out that people should respond to the census.
How do you feel COVID-19 is going to affect the census numbers?
I think we're all trying to grapple with the pandemic, right? On a very basic level. We're just trying to get by, make sure that we continue to have shelter over our heads, feed our families, and continue operating as normal as we can. That's the challenge that we have, is trying to rise through the noise and kind of wave to people like, hey, this is still important despite, what's going on in the world today.
Honestly, what does the census do?
Everything is related to the census. It really is the building blocks of democracy. The federal government uses census numbers to determine how funding is allocated to states, to counties, onto cities, based on the actual count that they have for the people living in those areas. And this includes programs in education, like our National School Lunch Program. It includes for housing programs like Section 8. It includes Medicare. And so there's a whole array of programs that without an accurate census count, the city would not receive the funding that it needs to service or meet the demand of its residents.
There are some fears and misconceptions about the census that I am sure many people have, just not based in fact. And how do you conquer those fears, and what are they?
Well, the way to conquer any fear is to get educated and knowledgeable about what the situation really is. They will never ask you for your citizenship or immigration status, and they will never ask you for a social security number. So when you respond to the census, you're not really providing them with too much detailed information about your family's status. You're just simply telling them how many people live in your household and then what their age is and their relationship to you, along with some other demographic characteristics.
Sadly, scams exist. And I mean, we see that, there's warnings go out if the IRS will never call you on the phone. I mean, there's all things like that. Mm-hmm. So how can people be discreet and understand the difference between an honest-to-goodness inquiry from the census and a potential scam that they need to avoid?
Well, here's the basic things that you need to know to make sure that your information is kept safe, and that if you do speak with a census taker, you know that you can trust you're really talking to one. So one is, the Census Bureau will never ask you for credit card information, for your social security number. They will never ask you to make donations to any organization, including political parties. They will never ask you, solicit you via email or any other form of communication other than mail, U.S. mail. So if you get a text message, if you get an email, those messages are likely not coming directly from the Census Bureau. They may be coming from another organization. Now, it could be a legitimate outreach effort, like in the city of Los Angeles. We're trying to remind everybody to respond to the census. So it could be an organization trying to do good, but it could also be someone who's trying to scam you for information. So the bottom line is to think about, don't provide anybody with your credit card information. Don't provide your social security number. And if you do get a knock on your door from somebody who claims to be a census taker, you can always verify their information by calling the Census Bureau or looking up that individual's name online, and the Census Bureau has a staff directory. So just by typing in their first and last name, you'll be able to verify that it is indeed them. And all census takers who come to a person's door will have an ID badge with the Census Bureau logo and a badge and tablet that will allow them to enumerate everyone in the household.
You know, you made me think of something just now. You have a phone bank of volunteers, but there were also people that were going to be employed by the census. Did Los Angeles employ people too, part-time for this period of time?
So the Census Bureau is actually responsible for conducting the count, and so they are the agency that hires the tens of thousands of enumerators across the country. Here in Los Angeles, their plan was to hire thousands of people to knock on doors, and their plan remains in place. Those people are now going to begin working as of August 11th, later this year, to do that in-person enumeration of households that haven't yet responded to the census by that time. So those jobs are still available, and my understanding is that the Census Bureau is still hiring. So for anybody who's interested in getting a job, especially during this time, the Census Bureau is one of those agencies that has plenty of opportunities available for people who are seeking seasonal or part-time jobs.
Will this census, do you think, help with funding for relief programs that took place during COVID?
When we talk about, let's say, emergency response services, the amount of funding the city receives for emergency response services is directly based on a formula that includes census counts. So again, we're talking about the building blocks of democracy. And so this is why it's so important that people respond, because without that accurate count, we won't be able to get reap the benefits.
I was surprised to learn that 10 years ago, when this went down, we missed a seat in Congress by, what was it?
13,000 people.
That's
in the state of
like
California.
A drop of Los Angeles. I mean, that's doesn't seem to be possible.
Half of the size of one of our neighborhoods in Los Angeles City, and this is the first time that the state of California had missed a chance to add a member to its congressional delegation since California became a state in 1850. As the population of California grows, it's important that we see that reflected in the census counts, because that's the only way that we'll get equitable representation in Washington, D.C., and make sure that our elected officials are representing our concerns.
I don't mean to be disparaging, but it's kind of well known. Los Angeles is notoriously hard to count. There have to be reasons. Why is LA so difficult to count? What is it about LA that sets it apart?
Los Angeles, you're right. Los Angeles is the hardest to count city and the hardest to count county in the entire country.
For heaven's sake.
We are in literally ground zero of what it is to get people to be counted. And I think it really is because of Los Angeles' geographic and demographic diversity. The Census Bureau has, through years of experience, identified hard-to-count populations as people who belong to racial and ethnic minorities, immigrants, people who don't speak English very well, renters, people who live at or below the poverty level, children 0 to 5, college students, seniors, people experiencing homelessness. Now, out of all of those categories, guess what? Los Angeles has among the largest populations, right? So it's no surprise that we have a hard time reaching people where they live. We have a hard time communicating to people who may speak a language other than English as their primary language. So for all of those reasons, the Census Bureau has identified Los Angeles as the hardest to count city in the country.
So what do you do to help?
We do things like this.
Because this is your responsibility. Congratulations.
It's really easy to respond to the census. Whether you received an invitation in the mail or not, you can still respond to the census by going to my2020census.gov. You can also respond by phone at 844-330-2020. If you don't want a census taker to knock on your door, respond to the census before August 11th.